Hello, my name is Steve Brannon. Now that I've completed building the Roubo Workbench from Chris Schwarz's Workbench book, I'd like to demonstrate the features of the bench. The first thing you notice about the bench is that it's massive. The legs are almost 5 inches wide. The top is almost 3.5 inches thick. This bench weighs about 240 pounds, which is actually a little light for Chris's design plans. The other thing you'll notice is that the legs are flush with the top, so that the legs and top edge all form a nice clamping surface. Now the reason for all this mass is so that this bench is not going to move under the forces of planing, working with hammer and chisel. The only way I can move it is if I bang my body into it, kind of lift it up, drag it around. The next question is the height of the bench. Chris Schwarz recommends setting the height of the bench to the point where your pinky just meets your hand. Roy Underhill recommends setting it to the height where your knuckles will just brush the top. So I've chosen to set at the knuckle brushing height. The reason for this height is so that you can get over your workpiece when you're using either a metal-bodied plane or a very large wooden-bodied plane, such as this one. In this case, I'm still able to get vertically over my work and apply downward pressure with my hands, using my upper body mass to keep the plane down on the work. One of the features of virtually every commercial bench you'll see is an end vise. Notice here I have no end vise of any kind. What I do have is a Veritas Wonder Dog that functions as an end vise. I can move back and forth with this row of dog holes along here. I can clamp up anything along here. A number of the features of the bench simplify work holding, so you don't have to do a lot of fiddling around with jigs and clamps. You just very quickly set up for an operation. So for instance, if I want to edge joint this board, I knock the planing stop up to an appropriate height, set the board down, and plane across. If I want to do face planing, I can set the board down, knock the planing stop down, and plane across the face. Again, I'm able to get my whole body mass over the work so that the plane moves smoothly. If you have a wider piece that's a little too wide to go across and balance against the planing stop, you're worried about it moving around, you can bring the planing stop up and use auxiliary battens with these holdfasts here to hold it in place. And if you're worried about it moving this way, once again you can put a batten out from the back and work your piece that way. So now it's secured in 2 dimensions. For surface planing, such as when I want to traverse across this board to thickness it, I can lay the board down against the planing stop, put one of the Veritas Wonder Dogs down in a dog hole, tighten that up so it's good and solid in there without bowing the board. Take my foreplane and hog off big chunks. Now if it turns out that I'm getting a little too much movement in here, I can take a piece of scrap, put it down to the batten, put a holdfast down in here, set that one whack, and now that board isn't going anywhere. When I'm ready to flip the board over, it's very easy to remove it, pop it out, flip it over, lock it back down, and go back to work. When I'm finished with the batten here, just give it a whack, pull it out, and readjust for my next operation. For working on smaller pieces, for instance, if I want to dovetail the edge of this board here, I use the leg vise. The leg vise is a very large vise. It's definitely a little different from modern vices. It takes a little bit of getting used to for adjusting and so forth. But you adjust it by setting a pin and a parallel guide in the bottom Once that's in there, you put your piece in place, crank it up, and you can see this vise is just massive. It can really apply a lot of pressure onto your workpiece. Once you got your piece in place, you can cut out your dovetail joints. After sawing out your lines, it's easy to clamp this up. We're chiseling out the waste using, again, hold fast, one whack, and that thing's not moving. I just cut some random dovetail lines here, so this is not going to be any kind of clean joint, but you can see, once I've done this, now I'm ready to start paring it out. Once I'm ready to flip the piece over, one whack, lay it back over, one whack to lock it, and back to work on the back side of the joint. Now if I need to do a little edge pairing here, remove that waste. Put it back in here. And now pair from this angle. So the point is you can focus on the actual woodworking and not mess around with figuring out how you're going to hold your workpiece.